The four lepers who saved a city. The city of Samaria was under siege. The mighty Aramean army had surrounded it for months, cutting off food and supplies. Inside the city walls, desperation grew. Families went hungry, soldiers weakened, and the once bustling streets were now filled with silent suffering. Just outside the city gate, four lepers sat, covered in ragged clothes. Outcast from society, they had no place among the starving citizens, nor any hope of surviving much longer. One of them, Joram, looked at the others and said, "Why should we sit here until we die? If we enter the city, we'll starve like the rest. But if we go to the Aramean camp, maybe they will have mercy on us. If they kill us, we die, but we are dead men already." The others exchanged nervous glances but knew he was right. With slow, weak steps, they began walking toward the enemy camp. The night was still, except for the soft sound of their footsteps on the dirt road. A great fear in the night. As they neared the Aramean camp, something strange had already happened. The enemy soldiers were gone. Scattered tents, abandoned food, and overturned chariots littered the ground. Weapons lay untouched, as if the entire army had vanished in an instant. The four lepers hesitated. "Where is everyone?" Shalom whispered. Moments earlier, the Arameans had heard a terrifying sound. Thundering hooves, clanking metal, and the voices of warriors. In fear, they cried out, "The king of Israel has hired the Hittites and Egyptians to attack us." Panic spread, and they fled into the night, leaving everything behind. But the sound of the mighty army was not real. It was the work of God. The lepers slowly stepped into the camp, their eyes wide. Tables were still set with food, steaming bowls of meat and bread untouched. They grabbed handfuls, eating for the first time in days. Laughter filled the empty tents as they rejoiced in their sudden fortune. Soon they found silver, gold, and fine clothing. They stuffed their pockets, carrying bundles to hide in the hills. But then Joram stopped. "This is not right," he said. "While we feast, our brothers and sisters in the city are starving. If we keep this to ourselves, we will be guilty before God. We must tell them." The others hesitated but agreed. Dropping their treasures, they rushed back toward the city gates. Good news for Samaria. When they reached Samaria, they pounded on the city gates. "Open up! We have news! The enemy's gone! The camp is full of food and treasure!" Inside, the people stirred. A guard reported the message to the king, who frowned. "It is a trap," he muttered. "The Arameans are waiting for us to leave the city so they can ambush us." But one of his advisors spoke up. "Let us send scouts to check. If it is true, we will be saved." The king agreed, and a few soldiers rode out cautiously. When they arrived at the Aramean camp, they saw the same abandoned scene. The weapons, the food, the riches. Following the trail of discarded armor, they realized the enemy had truly fled. Racing back to the city, they shouted, "It is true, we are saved!" At once, the city gates burst open. Men, women, and children rushed out, trampling over each other in their desperation for food. The markets were filled again, and just as the prophet Elisha had foretold, grain was sold at normal prices once more. But as the crowd surged forward, the king's official, who had doubted Elisha's prophecy, was trampled at the gate. Though he had heard the good news, he did not live to see its blessings. The unexpected heroes on a nearby hill, the four lepers, watched in awe. "God used us, outcasts, to save a city," Shalom said in wonder. Joram nodded. "No one saw us as worthy, but God had a plan." As the sun rose over Samaria, the city was filled with joy once more, and the four men who had once been rejected became the unlikely heroes of a great miracle.